Hello and welcome to Come With Us, a podcast to meet all your fantasy needs. I'm Susie Nunez.
And I'm Reshea Kelly, and each week we dive into the tempting world of books, seductive romance, and a sprinkle of spice.
Hi, sinners. Welcome to episode 20 of Come With Us, your favorite podcast. Not new, your favorite podcast already, because we're not new anymore. We have 2 seasons, we know who we are. And this week, I am grateful for warm clothes
Oh yeah.
because, oh my freaking God, it's been cold. Like, it's not as cold as before or other years. I'm very grateful that, we have the right equipment and the right clothes and the right everything to be warm and just keep living. And
Yeah.
I just saw the movie Society of Snow, I think is the name, on Netflix. And oh my God, I'm very grateful for warmness in general, but especially clothes, warm clothes. What about you, Reshea?
Right now, I'm grateful for Jujutsu Kaisen. Don't judge me. I've never gotten super into an
No,
anime. I've
not at
watched,
all.
I've watched your generics, your Avatar, The Last Airbender. I've I've watched Full Metal Alchemist, but I have never been super into anime. And this show has been my one escape from reality
Good for
the past
you.
couple weeks. And I'm just getting started on season 2, and I'm not ready to have my absolute soul crushed. I've just been having fun, enjoying all the all the fun times
Yeah.
of season 1. And the movie was a little sad, but I've been warned, and I'm not ready to let go of all the happiness.
There is lots of eye candy in that anime, like insane.
There's a couple
Yeah.
bad guys that I'm like, okay.
I know, I
Mm.
know.
Okay, this week, sinners, we're talking about 2 books from the amazing series by Sara Cate called the Salacious Players Club series. The 2 books we're talking about are not in order of one another, but they are Praise and Mercy. And you'll see in a
Yes.
minute why we married these 2.
Yes. The book order goes like this. It's gonna be praise, eyes on me, give me more, and then it's gonna be mercy, highest bidder, and madam. I read all of
Mm.
them. I really
Mhm.
liked all of the books. I do recommend this series, especially if you're someone that is starting on this type of books, like kinky-ish books. These are very,
Mhm.
in my opinion, mild,
Yeah.
because you know what we read. We read very, yeah, very spicy and very traumatic things. But this is very
Mhm.
mild, in my opinion. And I think if you're
Mhm.
getting into this type of universe in books, is great. Or if you want to learn more about this world because you want to be actually doing things like this in your life. We always have to
Yeah.
remember these are books. This is not real
Yeah.
people, but they are great to kind of like get an idea, in my opinion.
These books are a really awesome series to get into if you are somebody who is interested in kink and BDSM, but you are not into dark books, morally gray characters, things like that. It kind of divorces the kink and BDSM from the stereotypical dark pain, you know, tortured soul characters that a lot of times
Mm.
you see BDSM tied to in stories. So that was
I'll say that I agree with you on that, but there's like Give Me More and
Mhm.
Mercy. They have a bit of like, they're not morally great characters, but they have
Mhm.
some trauma involved.
Sure. Yeah, I think there is some trauma, but what I think of is when people who when you think of haunting Adeline,
Oh,
there's a
no,
lot
no,
of
nothing
there's
like
a
that.
lot of there's a lot of kink in there. It's not vanilla
Yeah.
sex, it's a lot of kink, but a lot of the kink that you get is tied to a darker storyline and darker characters and
Mm.
tortured souls. Same with Losers, you know. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of hard to divorce the kink from the trauma.
So we're going to start with 2 books that are the same, but they're not at the same time. Praise and Mercy. Praise is
Mhm.
first, and then Mercy is like the third or fourth book. Um, and why are we doing this like this, Reshea?
We decided to group them together by kink/trope. So,
Yeah.
Praise is a age gap romance with the male main character being older, the female main character being younger. The male is the dominant, the female is submissive. And Mercy is the exact opposite. So older woman, younger man. The woman is the dom, the man is the sub, and it's all about their like. I think the only thing is that in Praise, the male dom already knows what he likes and what he's into, and all the other three characters, they're just kind of figuring out what they're into. So I think that's like the one thing that makes them really different.
In our opinion, these books, each of them represent some kind of kink. I just watched a video on TikTok like 2 days ago where someone was saying like, no, that's not true. Okay, that's your opinion. In our opinion, it's like that. I read all of them, and in a way it does. And that's why, again, we think that these are great for people that want to like start reading these things or kind of like want to get an idea of how this lifestyle is, or if you want to have like a limits talk, right? Boundaries talk with someone in this specific topic. Praise, in my opinion, was great about that. But let's get into it. Praise, it's gonna be male. I think he's 40 or 42 years old, and then Charlie, that's Emerson, and then Charlie, she's the sub. She is 21 or 22, right?
Susie, what sold you on this book?
I think it was Journey who told me about it. She said something like, woman gets with the parent of her ex, and he's like a dumb, and she doesn't know anything about it. And I'm like, yes, that's for me. I love it. I don't need anything else. I love the drama.
Yeah, that one
What
threw
about
me
you?
for a loop. That one definitely threw me for a loop. I was like, it's her ex-boyfriend's dad? So what sold it for me was that I was actively looking for more sub-dom dynamics in the books I was reading, and definitely more kink in what I was reading, because I think I read this right after I read ACOTAR, and while fantasy is great, all of the sex was vanilla.
Yes.
I mean, it was hot, but still vanilla. Vanilla is a wonderful flavor. Countries were invaded for it, you know, but still, I was just looking to get a little bit more of the kink side of it. So then when I heard that the whole series takes place, you know, kind of semi around the existence of this sex club, and that there's different kinds of kink rooms and things like that, I was like, yoink.
Yes. When you start the book, there's one of the things that I loved since the beginning was the dedication. It says, to all the good girls. And if you have a kink and if you love a phrase type of thing, quote, that is going to be me. And I was like, yes, I'm going to read them all just because of this. It was so good. It was good. It was good. It was good. I loved it. Nice touch from the author, I think, and that is something that I love to see in books when authors thinks about these things, because they know that we have some type of kinks, because we're in this, because we're the type of people in a way or another. So I love that they know and they give us what we want. Love that. Yes. So the story revolves around Charlie, 21, 22, and Emerson.
But
And
built
again,
like Thor.
oh my god, yes. But again, Emerson is Bo's dad, and Bo's is Charlie's ex. So that is a whole thing in this book, and it makes sense. If you think about it, it makes sense. Like, how would you react, honestly, if that would happen to you?
So, like, let's just leave like a quick rundown to everybody who hasn't read this but is listening to this podcast because they love us anyway. And
we love you too.
So Praise, Charlie or Charlotte, she breaks up with her boyfriend. They had a security deposit down on a rental agreement together.
I just want to add, he's a fucking asshole. Okay,
he's such a dick. Okay,
oh my god,
he's your typical toxically masculine, not like super educated, so easily swayed by anything that has, men's activist rights. Like,
exactly.
that kind of a guy, like super fragile in his masculinity.
It's getting Andrea Tate.
Yeah, exactly. And she is not very self-confident, and so she just kind of
Mm.
lets him walk all over her.
She's
They end up
22. Of course she's not gonna be.
Here's the one best bit of advice I ever heard. Never marry the man you dated at 19. It's always the worst one. Anyways,
I second
so
that.
she
I
broke
second
up
that.
with him. She didn't marry him. She broke up with him, but he had to have money from his dad to cover his security deposit, his half the security deposit.
Mm-hmm.
So guess where the return security deposit check went? To his dad's. And he was like, I don't talk to my nasty ass dad anymore. I'm not going to tell you why, but fuck that guy. You want your money? Go get it from
Mm-hmm.
him yourself. She goes there. He assumes that she is the sub that has been assigned to him via their kinky dating app. He walks in, he's like, why aren't you on your knees? Because he assumes that it's this sub that's been sent over.
Yeah.
And she, in her brain, is like, why am I getting on my knees right now? What in the
But she's
fuck?
doing it.
She does it. And she gets straight up on her knees. And then they realize, oh my God, you're my son's ex-girlfriend. Holy shit, I'm so sorry. And long story short, she ends up being his for real secretary. And she gets that money. And then she realizes what the whole deal is. And she's like, oh, I think
Mm.
I liked this. And then they start like cat and mousing around. And she asks for lessons in how to be a sub. And then he
Mm.
and she ended up falling for each other. And then Bo finds out and he gets really upset, but fuck that guy. And then they're happily ever after. And now you know the whole story.
Kind of like that, but with a lot of drama in between,
So much
and a lot
drama.
of great sex.
Mm,
Even though I do have to say, I don't know if you have read the others that we're gonna be talking about.
mhm.
Eyes on Me, oof, number fucking one. That book is so good. Eyes on Me, and then if I have to add another one, so that one is gonna be Give Me More, because it's gonna be two men and one woman, and it's like when I tell you, I really thought that Praise had good sex scenes. They were good. They were great. Awesome.
Sure.
But they were just regular BDSM type of things that you see, like kind of like in porno.
Yeah.
You know, you know. But then you get to Eyes on Me and whoa, and then you get to Give Me More, and it's phenomenal. Like I really think the author said, "Okay, I know what I'm doing now," and she did an
Mhm.
amazing job.
I love that. I'm really excited. I chose to read the books as we go instead of reading
Yeah.
them all at once so that they're fresher in my mind.
That's good.
And
That's
also
good. Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm
yeah. I love that.
very busy. But we're going to say it's because I'm doing it for the work. Tell me about Emerson and why he is such, as you wrote, a total daddy.
And listen, I have a thing with the word daddy. Like I don't use that lightly at all. I really do think that to me, you have to give daddy energy
Mm.
for me to give you that, word. And he gives daddy energy. Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't know if it is because he has a son or what the heck, but it's just how when you know someone that they just carry themselves with this energy that is so dominant and so amazing. You're like, oh my God, you're total daddy. That's him. That's totally him.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever met anybody in person that gives that
Oh, I
vibe.
have.
Oh, have you? You can tell everybody it's me, Susie. That's all right. Go for it. You can tell them.
You said that it's me.
Duh.
I
Who
love it.
else
Yes,
is
it
this?
was you.
I
Okay,
am the
honestly, it was the
daddiest.
shade. That's it. You are. You are. Actually, if you want, actually, when she wants to be the daddiest, she's gonna be the daddiest. I'm telling you. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm not gonna tell you how we know this, but we know this. Continuing.
Save it for the Patreon.
He is
Mm.
rich. Point number one, if you watch the first episode, you know that I said that one of the problems with me reading the Dare and the Losers Duet was that these guys were poor and money is important. Money is what it is. Money is a
Mhm.
tool that we all need to survive and live in this world. So
Mhm.
Emerson has a lot of it, like lots of it. And
Mhm.
Charlie is a very wise little girl because she knows what she was doing. She knows, she knows. You
She
cannot tell
broke
me
up with
otherwise.
she broke up with her broke boyfriend who couldn't hold down a job and got with his dad the millionaire with a sex club.
You cannot
No, it's
tell me.
because we love each other.
You cannot tell me she didn't think about it.
Emerson to me is a really good parent, in my opinion. Part of the story that really part of the story that really like endeared him to me was him being a parent, and just understanding that if his son didn't want anything to do with him, then he couldn't push that boundary, and he would always sit there with open arms, you know, like, I'm always going to be here for you if you ever want to come back into my life, but I also understand that I have to respect that space. So as somebody who is vaguely familiar with no contact relationships in families and stuff like that, it was nice to see it displayed from a parent who wasn't just taking it as like some sort of weird personal offense, but then also,
Totally.
you know, because he also took responsibility for the part that he played in it. And even though the reason his son doesn't want to be around him anymore is because he's a pervert who owns a sex club, which I get is weird. I don't want to know that my mom has sex. I'll go to my grave thinking she's a Barbie doll with no genitals at all. And I'm fine with that.
Really? That's interesting.
I don't want to think about it.
I get that.
Totally picture, I know my grandma fucked. Oh, I know she fucked, okay? I don't want to think about it's too close, okay?
I love that. No,
So
I
get
understand
it. I get why it's weird, but also his son's just kind of a prick, man. So
that's,
I felt
that
for
is
him.
something like, we love Emerson, but the whole book we were asking ourselves, how is this motherfucking kid such a dick?
I know. So yeah, Emerson's great. And he really takes care of his body, which is nice that, you know, he's in his 40s and he's got like his little home gym and he just does his little quick workouts in his gray sweatpants and his white undershirt and
freaking great sweatpants. We freaking love them. Continuing, the age difference for me was a bit uncomfortable until, because, you know, she's 22, he's 40 something. But then you realize that Charlie was the one pursuing the relationship. Charlie was the one pushing the buttons.
That's the only thing that makes it okay. If it's a 40-year-old pursuing a 21-year-old, you're disgusting and go away.
Yep, you are.
But if the 21-year-old is constantly like, hey, boo thing, and you're just like, nope, this can't go any farther. This is unprofessional. You're my son's ex-girlfriend. That's not okay. And she's like, I'm a fucking adult. I know what I want. And I want you. After so long, you've done your due diligence and you can get that pussy.
I love how Charlie was so eager to tell him, I want to learn this. I think this is my thing. I just don't know how to get into it, but you can teach me. And that's when I said, this is my girlie. Because you know that those people that are like judging others because they don't understand something. She said, judging me? No. I want to learn. Teach me. And that is my type of people. That's something that you don't see from Bo. He is just a very close-minded person. I don't want to put politics on this podcast, but he gives me Trump supporter vibes, not because he's informed, just because he's not informed. So, you know, he's giving me those vibes, and I don't roll with those people.
Same. Hard same.
Yeah, exactly. So, one of my favorite things in this book was the limits and hard limits conversation and how clear it was. We have talked about this before. We did say that we don't see this type of conversations in books. It's just, I like you, you like me, we're going to be dumb and sub, we're going to see how this works. And we never had the conversation. In this book, the first thing that Emerson did was, we're going to have this conversation either you like it or not.
Well,
and I love that.
I think what was different about this is that in a lot of other demonstrations of dom sub relationships, they have like intense romantic feelings for one another, and then one of them says, you know, choke me, daddy, or the other one says, get on your knees, and then it's just an implied like, oh, they're a dom, or oh, they're a sub, and there's never a conversation because you're not going into the relationship with the explicit intent of having a dom sub relationship. It just kind of comes up and nobody ever stops and goes, okay, so I see you're into this. Let's talk about exactly how far into it you are. This relationship and like the one in Losers where they have the whole, what's your hard limits and soft limits, questionnaire and everything
Love it.
where they do that with here too. Both of those relationships started out with the agreement that there would be a power imbalance, which I think is probably why it was easier for the author to work the conversation about limits into it.
Yes,
I would love to see it.
absolutely.
I would love to see it come up in an organic way too.
We know people, we've been in relationships where we are like, okay, shock me now, and then from that something develops, but in that developing we have to talk about it.
Exactly.
I need to know what you are okay with and you're definitely not okay with, and you need to know my okays and my not okays. And that is something that, to me, every time I read a book, I'm like, yes, but you're missing the conversation. And if authors need to understand something, we read, and a lot of the times we're going to do what we read. We see these things as, let me try it, let's see how that happens. And sometimes we're going to read something and we're going to go to a website like Fetlife or anything like that, and we're going to find people to try these things with, and it's like, if you don't have the example of having a conversation before, and then you go to meet these people and maybe they know more than you or they have no idea what they're doing either, you're not going to have a healthy relationship with that person, and your experience is going to be shitty. So that's why conversations are very important. You need to know what it's okay and what is not okay for you and for the other person.
Another point I really liked about this was that Charlie's little sister was trans, and it wasn't brought into the story as some sort of
secret,
huge, yes, it wasn't like a secret, it wasn't some like huge divisive plot point. It just was a character aspect. It was just a fact about her sister. It was, oh, this is her sister is trans. It played a little bit into into Charlie's daddy issues, that her dad just kind of bailed on the family because her mom was supporting her little sister's transgender identity. But aside from that, like every other character in the whole book was supportive of it. It was just, oh, this is my sister. And everyone just kind of went along with it. And I really loved that it was like this destigmatized, not stereotypical, representation of a trans character. It would have been cool if it was like an even larger representation, like a more prominent character in the book. But I think for the part that it was really beautifully written.
Same. And I really like that when Charlie was meeting Emerson and like his lifestyle and everything, she actually realized what he did for a job, like having a sex club and stuff like that. She asked him something like, it's the club LGBTQ plus friendly. And he said, of course, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, okay, I'm fine. Like, that was the only thing that mattered to her, because they went through that rejection with her dad. And that was hard for the sister and for her. And I guess she's like, I'm done with people that are not accepting me or my family anymore. And I really like, that was a little thing in the book, but I think it was so beautiful because we want those relationships. And she is that person that if we know her, we will be like, Charlie's such a good friend,
Yeah. And it was like it was a real genuine representation of trans allyship. Because there's a lot of people out there. Like I have friends now who are transitioning and their family is supportive until, an aspect of their transition becomes inconvenient. Like, oh,
to them,
but surgery is scheduled on this day and this other day is some, it's like this other thing's happening. Like, well, okay, this isn't really something you can just reschedule, like it's
or the talk about pronouns.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, oh, well, you know how family is. No, I don't know. Why don't you explain to me why it's too hard for you to protect your own son or daughter than it is to just keep the peace in the family? Because if grandma and grandpa can't get with the program, then fuck grandma and grandpa. They've been alive long enough. They learned how to use a cell phone. They can learn how to change a goddamn pronoun. It's not that hard.
Preach.
Okay, can we talk for a second about the scene where Charlie goes to the mall and to go buy secretary outfits? And she's just like, oh, I don't know why I'm buying this lingerie. It'll be just for me to wear under my clothes so I feel sexy.
Charlie, please.
No, I was a secretary once in my life, okay, for an unnamed, very large bank of America, okay, and I I had no interest in any of my bosses, but I will tell you, I had the best day when I wore my sexiest underwear under like a black
Mm.
pencil skirt and a little button down. It like the confidence boost, 100% yes, but also, Charlie, your shirt was see-through.
I mean,
That's where it ends.
you know what I remember from this chapter when she went to the club and she was like almost naked-ish. You
Mhm.
remember that episode on Friends when Rachel is going out with Joshua and she goes to his parents' house and she's wearing like a nightgown ish. It's kind of sexy lingerie because
Oh,
they were
yeah.
going to actually do it. And she's like, and the best part, she was telling Monica, and the best part was when I was at the restaurant, I was and the waiter drop a little bit of water on my back and I jumped and my poop. I think that's how I was seeing everything in my mind with Charlie. And when she went to the club and she was kind of like, showing everyone everything because
Yeah.
she thought it was going to be only a house type of job. But no, she was going to the club and she didn't know.
She's got like that black bra underneath the sheer
Mhm.
white top, and she's like, "Oh, the lingerie is just for me. I just really want to feel sexy. I don't want anybody else to see it."
Charlie is interesting because I don't think she ever got to explore that side of her, like that sensual, very sexy side of her when she was with Bo, because he was very, it's my pleasure and I don't care about yours at all.
Oh my God, was she dating my ex-husband?
But yes, and something else that I really like about Charlie is that once she was out of that relationship and she saw that she could have a open and honest conversation with Emerson, she was like, I want to ask you everything. And I want you to
Mhm.
really be honest with me and tell me everything that you can about the community, about the kinks, about the app, about the club, because I want to be into this. And he was so, well, at the beginning, he wasn't open. He was like, I think
Yeah.
you are a child to be into this world, to be honest. But then he was like, you know what? Let me just eat this little cute dessert because I deserve it. And I do think that he
Eat,
deserves Charlie. I think they're
eat
great for
this
each other.
dessert. Eat this little cute dessert is the
Yeah.
sexiest thing I've ever heard in my entire life, and I don't know why.
I'm putting it in the book. I'm putting it
Let
in the
me
book.
eat this little dessert. Okay. I don't I think I resonated with her in this moment because I am also the kind of person that if I've got a question about something, I'm going to ask it.
Same.
And there's so many people who are like, "Oh my God, you can't just like ask people why they're white." That was a Mean Girls reference. But you like, you
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
just
yeah.
please understand my reference.
Yes,
Oh
yes,
my God,
yes.
Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white. But like
And you
I'm
know
always
what?
the person that likes that to ask those
I love
things.
that we are that person because in my friend groups, I'm the only person. I'm always a person that's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, and I went to whatever place and we did this. Tell me more." Or, "Oh yeah, my wife and I are doing something new. Tell me more. I want to know everything. Did you like it? Did
Yeah.
she like it?" Like I'm gonna be that person because you want to know.
Yeah, and if you like for me, like if I don't understand something, sometimes I do struggle with understanding
It's the
stuff
ADHD
sometimes.
baby.
It's something because like people will say things, I'll be like, okay, did they like mean that in this context or did they mean that in this context? And so I'm
Mm.
always a person who's like, sorry, did you mean that like this or like this? And sometimes people assume that I'm like trying to be kind of like, excuse me, bitch, what'd you just say? But I'm like, no, seriously, I'm gonna need clarification. And so I'm always the person, always growing up, I was the student that, would hold up class because I'm like asking questions because I just wanted to make sure I
Same,
understood. And everybody would be like, oh, so it was
same.
nice to have this character just be like, another question. When you said this, what did you exactly mean by that? What about this? Could I maybe do this? What about this? It was just so great.
And I do have to say, I loved how good of a new sub she was.
Mhm.
She was great. In my opinion, she
She
was
was
phenomenal.
super receptive to everything,
Yeah.
which
And
is
more than
which is
that,
awesome.
since the beginning, he told her, I don't deal with brats. And she almost never, she had like bratty moments, but he knew
Yeah.
how to put her down really fast. So I love that. I really
Literally.
love the dynamic between them. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. I was reading it like, can't relate. Because I don't think I could ever just like, I don't know, maybe if the right person told me that they don't deal with brats, and then they just told me I had to be a certain way, the
Mm.
right person could maybe make me.
I don't think with them it was like you have to act this way. She
Mhm.
was naturally a sub. She never was a brat. She was not going to be confronting him. Like she's never going to be
Confrontational.
confronting him. Yeah, in like that scenario when they are
Yeah.
like playing a scene, right? We need to talk about how beautiful it is that Emerson is never ashamed of who he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I love that.
even though this club, his lifestyle, his life choices, right, didn't help with the relationship with his son, he said, "This is my life." And that is something that I applaud so much because in books we see the sacrifice, always a sacrifice, right? The parents
Yeah.
sacrifice themselves, and we see that in real life every day too. And we see parents that are resentful at the end because they're like, "I changed my whole life for you." And it's like
Yeah.
Emerson said, no, 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 no. And Emerson was someone that he became rich after he had a son. So it's interesting how
Yeah.
his life's decision, choices, and style got him to be rich, but to not have a relationship with his son. And even though he was not okay with it, he accepted it because he liked himself so much and he loved himself so much. That he was like, I got a son, but I have me too. And I gotta live for me.
Yeah, I think there's a line that some parents get blurred where they think they have to change who they are or change certain behaviors
Mm.
for their kids.
Mhm.
And when those behaviors influence or affect your child's life negatively, yeah, if you drink too much on weeknights, but you're supposed to be helping your kids get ready for bed, sure, change that habit or that lifestyle. Or, if you're an adrenaline junkie and chances of you like dying in some sort of paragliding accident are super high and you want to do it every weekend, maybe pull back a little bit because you've got
Mhm.
kids now who would miss you if you died. But your sex life probably isn't something that's going to affect your kid's life as long as you're being responsible and keeping them out of it, right? Like he's not involving his son in
No.
his proclivities, so it's really none of his son's goddamn business.
No. And I
And he
love
never
how
tried to get him involved in it either. His son just found out
no.
and decided that it was immoral.
And I think it had a lot to do when we read about Bo's story in Mercy, we see
Mhm.
that it had a lot to do with his mom. But more
Yeah.
than that, I love how Emerson said, we had a business here. We can make a safe place for people that are like us. And that is something that I think that's more than like Charlie and Emerson and being, Bo's dad, the ex, whatever. I think it's just the fact that someone said, I'm going to open a club about sex and we're going to have fun. And that is what sold me on the whole series, to be honest, after I read Praise. Also, both being the representation of society in Praise was phenomenal because you're always going to have someone that is going to be judging you.
Yeah.
Always someone one way or the other. And I love how the author make this person to be someone so close to the main character, his son, and
Yeah.
how the rejection that he was giving to his dad was like a punishment. And that is a
Yeah.
punishment that society will give to you if you do, let's say, OnlyFans, if you do porn, if you do any type of sex work, even if it doesn't involve any sex per se. So that representation, even though it was kind of like not super evident, a lot of people will not see it that way. I loved it because I know, I've been in either way, in either position, and it was phenomenal.
100% agree. No notes.
What are your favorite scenes, bits, parts from this? Only the first one, the praise.
The voyeur hall
Oh my God, yes.
and the vibrator in public. I
The
feel like the
restaurant.
cat's out of the bag here. I'm fairly certain I may be into exhibitionism and voyeurism at this point. But every time it happens, I was like, I get all
Well,
excited, and I'm like,
you're gonna
woo,
love Eyes on Me because
oh,
that one,
really?
for me, it was when Charlie wanted to, made out with Madame Kink. It wasn't
was
something that
pissed.
she planned out, but it was
Yeah.
phenomenal. And then Emerson going bullocks when he saw that. Oh, great. And of course, I have to add the BDSM or heart and sub limits talk, because
Yeah.
when you know, you know. Let's rate these books. Praise.
I would give praise
From 1 to 5.
3 out of 5 stars.
Why?
It was good, but I feel like there was not enough of a climax. So there wasn't enough. There were plenty of climaxes, but the climax of the whole book was not very much. It's kind of a fluff book. I like a fluff book, but books that have more tension in them and, you know, more conflict will always get a higher rating for me.
Got it.
How about for you, for praise out of 5 stars?
Praise. I give praise 4 out of 5. Because I do think that it was a great beginning to a series about kink. And even though again the sex was very average, it was a great introduction to the stories, to the characters, and the whole universe of Salacious Players Club. And on top of all of that, I think the two main characters, Emerson and Charlie, were the perfect combination to start this series. They were great. Like, they just match perfectly, and you don't see that a lot, like in the first book for a lot of series. So I do like that. I like that so much.
Right,
well, that's it.
We did it.
We did it again. We did it again.
Because you can't get enough of us. Follow us on all of your socials at Come With Us Pod. And be sure to go to comewithuspod.com to find all of our links for TikTok, Instagram. Apparently we have a Threads. Be sure to leave a 5-star review, pretty please, and send your favorite episode or this episode or all of the episodes to any of your friends that listen to podcasts or read smutty books or all of the above. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, all of those different podcast platforms. Wherever you get your podcasts, please go ahead and review, subscribe, and then head on over to YouTube, where you can find us at Come With Us Pod as well. And be sure to click that little subscribe button and leave us a comment letting us know that you're there. Thank you so much.
And from here, with our semen-like nails, we love you very much. And we just want to say, sinners, you've been good little angels. You deserve the world. We, as your little dummies, want to tell you that you've been good. You've been good and you deserve everything. We love you. We'll see you next week. And remember, stay wicked, stay wild, and keep reading. We love you. Bye.